Welcome to Podnutz, a computer repair podcast, episode number 241, Train Your Clients. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live call-in show for computer repair techs. We answer your questions on running and operating your computer repair business. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. The Computer Repair Podcast is brought to you by Ninja, the simple-to-use remote monitoring and management solution. Try it free at info.ninjamsp.com/Podnutz. Let me introduce the co-host. We have Chris Carruthers from Remote Support Tech Team. How you doing, Chris?
Feeling good and on location. For those that were wondering what my office looked like, this is it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Good. Yeah, good background there. Good quality sound. So we're all happy here.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, since you are my only co-host today, why don't you give us a tip or story that we can learn from?
Yeah. So big tip that I want to make, and this is going to relate directly to something that happened to me. For some of you know this, I'm part of a group called BNI. We meet every Friday and talk about our businesses. And we had a visitor come in who is a self-storage unit company, which really excites me because I have a lot of self-storage clients that I work with, and they all use the same software. I guess the tip that I'm going to make here is the way that I wound up possibly nailing this new contract. When you're talking to somebody who's a potential customer and you have experience in whatever industry that they're in, use that experience, use that knowledge to kind of get your foot in the door. So the way I did that with him is, we were talking back and forth a little bit. He was asking me a bit about my business because that's what you do, you socialize. And then I just wound up asking him, I said, do you use SiteLink? Because, there was a SiteLink outage yesterday. I was just wondering if that affected you. And immediately his eyes widened, like, what? You know what you're talking about. So, that's a big tip, right? Is that you don't be cocky. Don't, make them think that they can't have a conversation with you. But, throw something in there, on the sly a little bit into the conversation and see where that leads, because this is going to be leading to a meeting probably within the next month. So I can discuss with him how I can help him with his company.
Great. That's awesome. And that's partially what we do is we listen to the client, listen to their needs, listen to their problems, and figure out how we can move that conversation to a point where we can actually nail the deal. So awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. I've got many, many things I could probably talk about. But one, since last episode, we talked about calendaring, to-do lists, how to juggle all the things we're doing. So what I did was, what I did was, I don't want to say I did it at work, but I did. One of the things I did was I pulled out my smartphone, which is an Android phone. It's a Samsung S7 Edge. And I said, okay, I'm in the Google verse. And the guys were suggesting I use things like Google Keep and so on and so forth in my calendar. So I went back, and I've done this before, and I said, I'm going to try it again. What I did was I put everything that I do on a weekly basis, whether it's recurring or whatever, to kind of see where I have open slots. And once you know it, by the time I finished filling everything out, I've got about 5 hours a week of open slots. Everything else is pretty much filled up with, and I put everything in there, including sleep and things like that, to make sure that whatever slots I had open, those were the slots I was using. Right. Not just kind of making stuff up and going, well, I stayed up a little bit later this time and I was able to do some more things here. No, I cut it down to exactly what I do on a regular basis.
Right.
I do a lot. So that's one of the things I did. The other thing I did for like one-off stuff, things I need to get done, maybe are not as pressing priority and stuff like that, is I put them into Google Keep. And I know I haven't really delved into that of setting reminders and stuff like that, but I know I can do that. So I'm going to go in there eventually and do those types of things. But what I figured out was, and this is kind of what everybody was saying anyways, is that whatever you have with you at any given time is probably what you're going to use the most. So being as I have my phone with me all the time, that's probably where my stuff needs to go. Not on my desktop, because I'm not in my desktop. I'm either in the cloud or I'm on my phone, which is connected to the cloud. It's just the internet, people.
I love your air quotes.
It's just servers in somebody else's closet. That's all it is. Okay. Computers somewhere else. So I'm going to try this, and really, this is another eye opener. This is like when you count calories. Okay. We don't really count calories necessarily to just count calories. We count calories so that we, in my opinion, so that we make ourselves aware of what we actually are consuming. And this is the same thing with tasks, calendar events, and different things. This actually gave me a right up in your face understanding of where all my time goes. So when I say I don't have any time, no, I literally mean it. And that's something that I need to work on. But if I don't know there's a problem because I can't physically see it, it'll never get fixed. So that is why I'm going to try these two approaches, use everything that's on my phone. Now you can have Google Keep Desktop on your desktop. So that's not a problem. You can have it pop up. You can have it sit in the background just like anything else. So that's kind of a neat thing, Google Drive, all that kind of stuff. So you can actually get the information when you're on your desktop or even manipulate some of it because, as we all know, typing into a smartphone is probably not the funnest thing in the world. Typing into a desktop is a little bit easier. So there's that. But I'm going to give this a try and see what I can do to kind of make sure that my schedule stays on track and I'm getting that time, that personal time, like Chris has talked about for myself, getting that family time where family is, I'm interacting with them and not just going, yeah, I'll get to that soon. I'll get to that later. So anyways, that was my tip in my process of what I've kind of got from last week's episode. So we don't just do this so you all can learn. We do this so I can learn.
I think Jeff gets more out of this show than anybody, really.
You do. You really, yeah. I do. I get a ton out of it. So I definitely appreciate all the thoughts and processes that go in there. All right. Let's take a quick break here, and then we will go into our main topic. Our show today is brought to you by Ninja, the remote monitoring and management solution to help you become more efficient, more productive, and more profitable. With Ninja, you can have a faster fixed response time and offer preventative maintenance to your customers. Ninja understands what you need to run your business, which is why their RMN solution is integrated with tools you use every day. Ninja provides competitive pricing, patch management, antivirus, email, and SMS alerting. You can be up and running quickly with minimum training time. That's what I like. You have TeamViewer integration for that remote support. It's one solution for managed and non-managed clients. Network visibility inside the RMM. Figure out what's going on inside that network even before the customer knows. Easy to read dashboards. Again, one of those things, it's got to be easy to read, or the chances are I'm going to gloss right over it. A powerful device search where you can create custom queries and export the list to show to your customers. An executive style report showing important system metrics such as health score, software added, removed, hardware changes, and TeamViewer connections. Ninja is offering Podnutz a free 30-day trial, and when you decide to buy, a 10% discount. Take advantage of this offer. Go to info.ninjamsp.com/Podnutz. All right, so our main topic for today. This was sent in a while back, and I do listen to everything and read everything that's sent in. This is from Lance Howell. And one of the subjects during one of our contests that he was asking about was developing a training program for both businesses and or residential customers. And so I picked this one out for this week because I think it's very important. A lot of times we look at the things that happens inside the network, business, residential, or otherwise, and we'll look at how can we prevent this? Because it's not all, at the end of the day, it's not all about just getting paid for doing the most work. It's like you want to provide a good service that's going to be beneficial to the people you serve while making it so that you can feed your family, pay your mortgage, and other things. So one of the things that we talk about a lot, but really, I don't know that we have a lot of solutions. There's been a lot of suggestions out there. And that is, how do we train people from hurting themselves? I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. People, they don't know And even when we tell them point blank, they kind of nod their head, kind of like when some of you talk to your significant other, your spouse, and you nod your head, but you're not listening to a word they say. It's kind of like that. That's what your customer's doing to you. So
your customers are yes steering you.
Yes, dear. Yes, dear.
Yeah.
You got it. So, Chris, what are some of the things? And I don't know that I have some answers. I know Chris, being from Canada, has a lot of answers.
Sure.
Or at least a lot of opinions, which is good.
Right.
What types of things can we look at that we can do to train our customers or clients better so that they don't harm their computers and networks?
Well, if you're asking the opinionated Canadian, here's what really it comes down to for me. And this approach works for me because of my personality and because of the customers that I cultivate. So, it's a great approach to try, but it won't necessarily work for you and your clients. So first and foremost, before I even get into anything, you need to find a solution that works for you and that works with your clients. Right? Just sticking a note on someone's computer that says don't write down your password is not going to necessarily stop them from writing their password on the bottom of their keyboard. Okay, it's just how it is. So first and foremost, I continuously educate my clients. Once a week, I have a meeting with a bunch of business owners. A lot of them are my clients, so they're continuously educated by me. We have a meeting space now. The office that I've moved into has meeting rooms that are available. So we're considering setting up like training seminars where we can have people come out and learn that way. We have the built-in solutions database in our ticketing system. So we constantly are adding to that for clients that, use the same type of software like Outlook. We put many different knowledge base articles in there for them to browse through. And finally, and it's something that I've really been lax on lately, and I have to get back into it, it's creating YouTube videos. It's really easy for a customer to see that there's a YouTube video attached to a knowledge base article, or to get an email that there's a YouTube video on how to help them with whatever it is that they're doing, and they'll watch it. So those are some of the ways that I've kind of branched out on it. It is slowly taking hold. The larger the company is, the more they seem to feel that money speaks volumes and they shouldn't have to do anything themselves sometimes. But at the same time, the employees, when you get further down the line, they don't really care who fixes it. They just want it fixed, right? And if it's going to be something as simple as, my Outlook pops up every day asking me for a password, if they can see in the knowledge base article, click on save password before you hit OK, they're not going to bother you with that phone call that you're really probably not going to easily charge your client for if they're, a huge contract.
Okay. JD Venice in the chat room is saying clients just want their computer to work, pick the worst thing they are doing wrong, and work on that first, one step at a time. And that is probably a sound piece of advice there, because I think we can't really overwhelm them with a ton of stuff all at once.
No.
Or they're just going to forget. Or, the things that we do on a regular basis, the things we remember are the things that are important to us. Things that are not important, we tend to not remember and go, I don't know. So I don't know what. Now, Chris, you're talking about YouTube videos and stuff, and I know Tom Lawrence does this for his business. We talked to him last week, and I think these are great ideas. Now, a lot of people go, I don't know what to do. I don't want to get in front of the camera. I don't want to do this. So we go back to, well, if you're a writer, you can blog something, you can send out emails,
yeah,
you can do these types of things on a regular basis. I think when it comes down to customer training, client training, is that, and I'm trying to make the distinction, it's really client. You want long-term clients, not just customers, but your long-term client base, you really want them to have an understanding of what you're trying to do, but at the same time, you don't want to inundate them with way too much stuff where they're going, it's just all going over their head. So now, as far as knowledge base articles and stuff like that, do you see, is there any way for you to track what people are going in there and looking at things, or Is this conversations you have with your customers?
Mostly by conversations. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get feedback, unless you're doing website analytics. And I really am not going to do website analytics on a knowledge base. It's not worth it. However, a good knowledge base system is going to allow people to vote whether something is good or not. So you can kind of base it off of that. If you're using anything that, will allow them to leave comments, if you're going to do that, moderate it. Comments being left shows you how active a page is. So you can get some feedback that way. But I think the biggest feedback that you're going to wind up getting is, again, especially if you have, larger corporate clients where there's employees involved. If you start putting some commonly used common calls with quick solutions in there, so that you don't want to take bread out of your mouth either. But how do I reset my password for Gmail? All right, well, that's going to take me 10 minutes. That's not really worth my billable time. I could be helping somebody else with something. So I'll put in a walkthrough. Here's how you reset your Gmail password. If I if I gradually start taking less and less of those calls from that client, then I know that knowledge base article has really driven to that, whether I have analytics to show me or not.
That's good. Yeah, you have real world is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Stuff that actually you've implemented and actually works. That's cool. Now, when we look at things like, training videos and stuff like that, what would you say would be the amount of time you'd want to spend on a video in order to make sure that you capture somebody's attention, hold it, and not, and have them watch the whole thing?
Sure. I would say, okay, so I wouldn't want to put something up that's more than 15 minutes. Obviously, there's going to be things that take more than 15 minutes. Segment that video. Because what you're going to wind up with are 3 types of people. You're going to have the people who kind of sort of know where they're going, so they can find which of the videos it is that they need to be able to see the steps that you need to do. People have no idea what they're doing, so they're just going to watch them all. Or people who are going to, again, have no idea what they're doing, click on the video and say, oh man, this is a 45-minute video, I'm going to look somewhere else.
Okay. Yeah. So the shorter, I would imagine the shorter the better. Now, I would have said something like 5 minutes.
No,
5 minutes or less.
I'm the reason why I say 15 is because if I'm doing something with QuickBooks, just off the top of my head, I can tell you that almost anything that I'm putting in that's a quick fix for QuickBooks is a 15. You're looking at 15 minutes just to explain how to get to where the problem is.
Okay.
Payroll updates is the big one that comes to mind for that. If my payroll updates fail, okay, sometimes it's really easy to fix it. Now here's the 40 menu items that you have to click on through the website and through the software to get to where you need to be. Try this, and if it doesn't work, call us. That's a 15-minute video. Easy.
So when somebody's watching that video, they can make a decision at that point of, no, I'm not going to, it's too much for me to handle. So let me call Chris and let him just go in and do it himself.
Absolutely. I also have accountants, though, that will go through and do it because they're comfortable with doing a manual payroll update. They just can't remember how. Right. But that drives more traffic to the YouTube video, which will then help more traffic get to the YouTube video in the first place. Maybe the accountant's going to send that video to one of their clients, which has happened. And then I wind up with a phone call. Oh, hey, I saw your video on YouTube that was sent to me by my accountant, blah, 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 Smith. And I need some help because I can't figure out how to follow these steps. Yep, no problem. Thank God that was only a 15-minute video, or else you probably would have given up before you got to my phone number at the end.
Is there an accountant actually named Smith in Canada?
No.
Okay.
No, there's not a single accountant named Smith in the entirety of this country.
Just checking.
Sure.
These are things that random thoughts that go through my head. See, that's why I told you wouldn't want to be inside my head.
We all also know Jeremy. If you ever see a Canadian, just ask them how Jeremy's doing. We'll know.
Oh, anyways, I'm sorry I diverted the tracks.
It's okay.
So when you're looking at, what about as far as you're talking about doing trainings and having people come to you, what about doing some sort of training in their office where they're at on a regular basis? Have you thought about things like that?
Okay, so here comes my catchphrase. It depends.
It depends.
It depends. Because at that point, you're looking at one of two things. You're either looking at they're going to have a room full of people and they're going to pay you to come down for the day to do that. And that's fine. Or it's one person sitting in an office that wants you to teach them how to do something, right? So those are two completely different things, because a classroom setting, like a seminar, you're probably going to charge per head for people to come in, provide coffee and all that stuff. If you're going to someone's desk to show them how to do something, you're billing them per hour on your hourly on-site rate, right? I don't mind doing that. I'm more than happy to do that. But most people don't want to pay me $130 an hour to sit down at their desk to show them how to use something.
I see.
Right. So it's a lot easier to tell somebody, listen, in a month, I'm going to be running a seminar on this product. So you can do whatever it is that you're doing. It's $25 plus tax, and I include sandwiches, coffee, and tea and water. Here's the card, right? And then you'll wind up with 30 people coming out to that at $25 each. You don't make a whole lot of money that day, but you wind up making a lot of new contacts and possibly some new clients.
Okay. That's a good way, I'm sure, to train. I'm just wondering, from the standpoint of business owners, do business owners, from what you've seen so far, do they find that this is a necessity, or is this kind of like a inconvenience?
That depends on the size of the company. Smaller companies will see it as an inconvenience and an unneeded expense, because if I can do it, why can't you? Is usually the mentality that winds up happening. So I find that they don't want to pay for training. They'll send them to YouTube. They'll do all of those things, but they won't pay for it. And that becomes an issue, right? Because you can't give away your time for free either.
Right. Yeah. There's no point. Yes. Again, we need to feed our families, pay our mortgages, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So we need to be paid. But see, I guess the short-term thinking in this, from a business owner standpoint, is they're not thinking long-term. Okay, every time my employee messes up or I mess up, we've got to call somebody out to fix these major issues sometimes. And really, probably in the long run, I would say that that's going to cost them more money, because you can't just count the downtime for that machine, printer, whatever. You're counting the downtime of the productivity. And it could be the productivity of, if one person can't do their job in an office, that could be the productivity of 7 other people.
Oh, absolutely.
Waiting for. So we're talking about, when you look at an office situation, you're talking about a whole group that's working together a lot of times. And to me, it would be more important to have, monthly, bi-monthly, whatever type of training, just to get these people to understand do's and don'ts. Now, go ahead.
Now, if you have a corporate client that is in the 3-digit area for employees, you will probably have a fairly easy time having that discussion with the VP or the HR manager or whoever it is that you're dealing with at that point, to say, listen, you guys are using this proprietary software. It's really important that everybody understands how to use it properly, how it works with Outlook, how it works with these other systems. And over the last 6 months, or however long, I'm just pulling numbers out of my head because this is what usually happens, and this is usually the conversation. Over the last 6 months, I've received 30 separate tickets from different people saying that they had this issue. It's a really simple fix, but it cost you guys this much money every time that phone call came in. Plus it took them, 2 hours to get it fixed because I was with somebody or whatever, and you do the breakdown and you say, this is how much money you guys have lost over the last 6 months for this issue. And this is going to continue. So we should really have a training class with your employees so that we can show them how the software works, how it works with this program, and why that link keeps breaking, so that we don't wind up having this issue anymore. If you go to somebody with 5 employees and you have that same discussion, chances are they're not going to want to take their employees off of production to do it. They're not going to want to pay for the time to have that done. And they'll just either buy a prepaid ticket or, try to look at some other maintenance path to take to be able to keep it working, which is unfortunate. But, as you said, they're looking at the short term. They're not looking at the long term at that point. Generally, I'm not saying that's always true.
I almost wonder if there's a way for a lot of people that do the managed services. I have nothing against managed services, just
Yep.
a title. So managed service for people who are doing managed services, I think a lot of times they could probably include training in that package. Now, would that be a way that you could get that in there where it makes it a little more palatable for the business owners?
If you build it, okay, yes, all you would need to do at that point though is you'd have to make a decision as to whether you're going to make that part of your base service plan once they're over and above or whatever, you know. Because if you turn around and you tell them, look, we've got two choices. We've got this service plan over here, which is this much a month, and this is what it includes. Or we've got this service plan over here, and it includes me coming in every quarter to do some training with your employees. Depending on the price difference on there, and the price difference should be pretty substantial because you're going to wind up using up a day every time you do this, right? They'll almost always go with option A. Almost always, because that cost difference is going to sway them in that direction, right?
So let me do a Chris.
Sure.
You don't offer them option A.
Right. Right.
So what I'm saying, I guess, and this is just me thinking outside the box, thinking outside my head, is that if you just, here's my maintenance plan.
Sure.
Here's what I'm here for, to keep you protected as my client, to keep your employees protected. And then part of that is this includes training, this, that, and the other. Here's all the things that are going to keep you running like a well-oiled machine on a regular basis.
Right. So let's do that. Let's look at that. And I'm going to use my own company's numbers because this will be the easiest way to do it. Now, remember, this is in Canadian dollars. So you're going to have to convert in your head. Not that it really matters. So I don't know. Give me a company size. 10. Sure. Okay. So we've got, we're going to say 10 computers, maybe 10 employees, maybe more. It doesn't really matter at this point. We've got 10 computers. So I wind up coming up to a business client and I wind up negotiating a contract with them, which will be, we're going to say it's our higher tier service plan that we have right now. So the higher tier service plan that we have right now for businesses is $59.99 a month per computer. Antivirus, unlimited virus removals, unlimited remote support, which is a big one. We use Ninja to manage all of that. So I'm not actually doing this to do the math. I just need the number in the calculator because we have to figure out other stuff. So that's $599.90 a month plus tax. All right. So almost $600 a month,
which is cheap.
It is absolutely cheap. Yeah. And you know, most of the clients that I'm charging that to, I talk to them maybe once every other month.
Right. That's the way it should be.
Right.
And they're happy. You're happy.
Right.
Yes.
Because suddenly they don't have to call their IT guy, you know, all the time because, oh man, the MSP is taking care of it, Jeff. So, right. All right. So now $600 a month, I can float that to a 10 employee company, and I can make that quote work. Now here comes the issue: is let's say once a quarter we are going to offer this 10 employee company a 2-hour training seminar. And the 2-hour training seminar is going to be reflective on whatever we're seeing the most coming out of that company as far as issues. You know, we'll do surveys. We'll use SurveyMonkey. We'll do whatever we need to do to get that information. But that's what we're going to do, and we're going to spend 2 hours every quarter doing that. That means that once a quarter, we're going to have my on-site rate is $149 an hour, which is $298. So if we do that once a quarter, that's $1,192 a year worth of labor.
Okay.
So bring that down by the month. That's $99 a month. So, you know, if you add an extra $100 a month to that, $699.90, that's not so bad.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If you, again, we are in the mentality of, in the US and Canada, I'm sure, is how much is that going to cost me per month? That's what I want to know.
Right.
So really, I think that it can be done. I think a lot of people just don't think of it in that way. Hey, let me roll this into what I'm already doing for my customers anyways, and it's more palatable.
I think so. I think the only time you're going to have an issue is if it's offered as, here's your two options.
Don't offer the second option.
I understand that that's what you're saying, and I'm agreeing with you. Don't offer the second option. I mean, especially if you get like at 10 employees for $100 a month to have that once a quarter, they won't even notice that. Exactly. If you don't offer the two of them, I know there's people listening right now and they're shaking their head and they're thinking like $700 a month. How am I going to get any of my clients to pay $700 a month? You can.
There's no way.
There isn't a fight with $700 a month. If there's a fight with $700 a month, they're not going to pay your rates anyway. Move on. But all you need to do is tell them, like, look, this is what's going to happen, right? We're going to be taking care of all of these things for you. We're going to make sure that your employees are properly trained on whatever it is that you need them to do on their computers. And overall, this is going to lower your IT costs, right? The benefit that you get from it, especially if you're like me and you have an unlimited support plan, I'm requiring people to go to the knowledge base before they reach out to me. I don't really have a way of checking that. Don't tell them that, but but that's a requirement that I've put down. So if I'm requiring them to take this training now, and I'm requiring them to go to the knowledge base, all of a sudden, all of these unlimited support plan things, not only is that going to work out better for me because I'm going to spend less labor dealing with those clients, but it's going to work out better for the client because they're going to be more educated. They're going to understand what they're doing a little bit more, and they're going to be a lot more confident about doing small fixes rather than them needing to waste their time, because their time is money for them too. Right. So, if they can fix something in 15 minutes instead of it taking an hour, even if you have a really good response time and you get right on it, maybe they can get it fixed 45 minutes faster. That extra 45 minutes could mean a couple $100 to that company.
Yeah, I think this is something that I think people really need to look at and understand that it's the one thing that I see that's not really being done is any type of training. I'm not saying it never gets done. I'm just saying on a continual basis, because again, if you do training once a year, and I'll give you a prime example.
Sure.
I have to do a training for power lockout because of the company I work for. When I go in and there's machines, I've got to be able to lock these machines out properly.
Yep.
Pneumatic, airwise or, mechanically, electronically, all this stuff. So Chris, I know you know all about that.
Oh yeah.
So I take the training once a year.
All right, for your certification.
Yeah. Now, do you think I remember most of the things on the test?
Did you take the key with you?
No.
No?
No, that's a good idea, though. I like that. I should have wrote it down from last time. I'm going to take, this year, I'm going to take screenshots of my screen.
I think that would be a really good idea.
Answer A, B. Yeah, because you got to get, I think you have to, I think now with the new program, you have to get 100%, which it's not really that hard to do. They try to trip you up a little bit, but it's not bad. But it's one of those things where when I know I only have to do it once a year, and I still on a day-to-day basis have to ask the questions. Hey, where do we lock this particular machine out?
Yeah.
I'm new to this area. All the information is supposed to be there.
Yeah.
But I need to figure out where it's at and all the things that they taught me. I don't really remember.
Right.
So you have to have, I like your idea, quarterly training. I think something like that is doable. And if you were to take the things that were happening in the company and pick the top 5 and go, this quarter, we're going to deal with these top 5. And if those things go down, but you see other problems, propping up, you can go in and do another, here's the next top 5.
Sure.
And go from that standpoint. I think it's a great idea.
Now, to reverse a little bit.
You're not playing devil's advocate, are you?
No. Actually, I'm expanding on the idea because I just had a brainwave on this. So, right now we have two service plans, right? Our tier 1, tier 2, tier 1, 25, tier 2 is the 60. What would you think? So I was talking before about how, if you run a training seminar, you charge somebody $25 to come in and learn whatever it is that you're teaching them, right? Give them coffee or whatever. So why can't we do that for those one-off managed service clients too? Just add $5 a month to the bill. Obviously not to the current ones, but to the new ones. Add $5 a month to the bill. And they get a free ticket to the seminar that you're running that quarter.
There you go.
Right. That way you're not, using up, you're not needing to add $100 a month to their bill to be able to cover you coming on site to do a training person for, 1 or 2 people. Right. But $10 a month for 2 people in a small company to be able to come out for free and attend whatever training seminar you're doing that quarter. That's not a bad deal.
And I think part of the problem comes into, and this is something we also have to think about and be aware of, depending on how a customer or how a client pays their employees is going to be dependent. Because here's the thing, if you take time to go out and do something somewhere else, I think the chances are less likely of most people, not most, but some people showing up. We'll put it that way.
Sure.
I think it's more likely if you were to go on site and grab everybody from that company. But here's the other caveat to that. At the same time, the client is probably going to have to pay those employees to come in on an off day and be a part of this training center.
Maybe. So there is, okay, if it were specific training for that company, 100% absolutely, I agree with you. It's either going to have to be on paid time or it's going to have to be on paid overtime. That's the way the labor law works, and that's how it works. Now, if your employer were to tell you that, hey, so the IT company that we're working with is offering all of our employees free computer training. It's once a quarter. They'll send out announcements, put your email address on this sheet and you'll get an email about what the next training class is. So you can choose whether or not you want to go. Now it's not a work function. Now it is a employee benefit for working for the company. And therefore it would not have to be paid out by the employer at all.
Now, do you think that most people would want to take their precious time unpaid and go out on a separate day to a training seminar?
Yes. And here's why. There is a company in town that I'm not going to give the name of because I don't have permission to do that. And that's all they do is they do training seminars 5 days a week on various different topics. They charge $75 to $100 a head. And people come in and pay them to teach them how to use like Office products, how to use Skype, how to use QuickBooks. They'll go through a specific application and train people on how to do that. So it's already being done very, very successfully in town. The difference here is it's something that you would be providing with your service plan rather than them needing to pay a fee to attend.
Right.
So that's that. Yeah. So I think that it is something that is doable. You, depending on, how your budget is, maybe, you could record it and put it up on as a webinar as well, or something along those lines, right? Give those same clients access to the webinar log file so that they can go back and watch a previous one. But the other thing that you're going to find is that anybody who is a 1 or 2 person company, they're going to also want the opportunity for networking. So you are going to have that added benefit that you're going to be able to provide them, that there's going to be other people coming in here, and chances are at least half of the people in this room are either going to be a business owner or they're going to work for a small business and they're representing that company today. So, having a social time afterwards would actually wind up attracting a lot more people into the seminar in the first place.
Okay. I like your answers. I think I think there's many ways that we can do this, and I think that's definitely viable. The other thing I was thinking about when you said webinar is that might be another viable option for people who are thinking about how can I provide training but make it worth my while. Again, if you add it into your contract for managed services and you take the time and make a decent, it doesn't have to be stellar Hollywood, but if you make a decent video that explains exactly what you're trying to do, you take the time and effort to do that, you can get paid by the amount that you add to that managed service for all of your companies that you're supporting.
Absolutely.
And so people don't have to leave. They don't have to go anywhere. You can send them whatever it is. It could be once a quarter, like Chris was saying, and you send them an email with a link. Here, check out this video for the top 5 things that go wrong in most companies or training or whatever. So.
And while you're recording, excuse me, while you're recording the webinar, big thing to learn from the big guys, right? Like Malwarebytes, Webroot, all of these guys, whenever they do a webinar, it's a live webinar when they're doing it, right? So there are people who are in the chat. There are people who are connected to whatever meeting software they're using, so that they can unmute their microphones and allow questions to be asked, because the questions that are going to come from the people who are attending may be something that you don't even think needs to be included. right? So there's just as much valuable information that comes out of a Q&A at the end of a webinar as there is information in the meat of the webinar itself. Do it live, invite people to come out live, and then, you know, when the video goes out later on, include the Q&A session at the end in the video, and you'll be amazed at how many people are, oh, I wouldn't have even thought, you know, to include this, or, oh, thank God somebody asked that question because I was thinking the same thing.
Now, let's go back, and we're going to circle back a little bit, and let's go back and talk about some of the simple things that we could, in maybe ways that we could train our customer base, our client base, in how to do things like, hey, I just locked myself out of the domain again. I forgot my password. You know, how are there things that we can help them to be able to remember, teach them maybe some sort of philosophy on password management?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you can always, that's something that you're either, if you have somebody that's really, really bad at it, you might just want to think about doing one-on-one coaching with that person. You know, but generally that's something that you could teach in a classroom environment. And really, if you're using somebody with Active Directory, they probably have enough employees that you'd be able to sit down and have that meeting with them. Another option in that kind of a situation is, you know, to enable self password resets. You know, I know that Server 2016 has that option. I don't know about anything prior to that, to be honest, because it's been a while since I've done anything prior to 16. But yeah, so there's a number of different ways you can handle that. And the training could easily be like, look, here's a good way to make a password. Here's how you can make it memorable. But if you screw it up, here's how to reset your own password.
Okay. Yeah, that would be a little easier to do that than, you know, because these companies call all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And you hear different people talk about, yeah, they called me password, you know, my password resets are at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they roll in, and I go in and I reset the password and charge them $50.
Yeah. I've gotten to the point now where I try to empower my clients for that stuff like that. I just did a 2016 server install for a charity that I do work with. And then I have to go to their second location and set up the VPN tunnel. But you know, the people in the location here in Barrie, they have their Active Directory all set up. We have the Office 365 link all done. So, you know, even their email passwords are connected to their Active Directory passwords, and the self password reset has been enabled. So I don't really get calls from them to do password resets. It's a charity. I wouldn't have wound up charging them for it anyway. But you know, I find that it's easier to sit down for 15 minutes and show somebody, okay, look, now you know your password, make sure you remember it. But if you forget, here's how you deal with it.
I'm sorry, did I hear you correctly? You said you wouldn't charge somebody for doing something anyways. Is that my hearing must be going? Because
at the end of the year, I send a statement of everything that's been unbilled, and then I receive a charitable donation receipt for the amount. So so I get paid for it because I don't. It helps me with my taxes at the end of the year.
Gotcha. Okay.
They didn't get everything for free. They paid quite a bit for all the work that got done, but there was about a 10-20% freebie thrown in there.
I understand. I just couldn't believe my ears. That's all.
Well, you know, it's rare, but it happens, Jeff.
All right. So is there any other thing that we can talk about as far as, I think we've talked about a lot of great ways to be able to train your clients and to get this in front of them on a regular basis, not once a year, at least quarterly, maybe even monthly, if you can work that out on your schedule, depending on your client base. Is there anything else that we could touch on as far as things we've forgotten about training our clients to help them help themselves?
I mean, I think we really nailed the hammer here, or whatever that colloquialism is supposed to be. But, you know, a lot of things kind of get brought up into the surface as the basics of providing IT services, right? You know, you need to manage the support that you're giving your clients. So in order to even know what you're training them on, you need to have some sort of a tracking system so that you know what issues are coming in, right? Whether it be a ticketing system or a spreadsheet, or, you know, whatever, a stone and chisel, you know, whatever you want to use.
Why did you just roll your eyes when you said spreadsheet?
Because I rolled my eyes when I said stone and chisel too, but you didn't comment on that.
Because I'm not using a stone and chisel.
No, I forgot you upgraded to the abacus. but make sure that you're tracking what's coming in, because whenever it's something that I wound up learning in corporate IT when I was doing all that work for that automobile company that we don't talk about. Is that the more you keep track of the calls that are coming in, the easier it is for you to figure out where the pain points are for the IT infrastructure that you're supporting. So as long as you know what you're doing on a daily basis, you can go back and say, okay, look, there's a lot of calls for this, so this is what we need to train on to try to help lower that. So yeah, everything that you're doing right now is you're trying to alleviate everything for the client so that they're happy to keep paying you that money every month, right? Without thinking about it too much, but also to make their business more profitable. Because if their business is profitable, they're going to grow. They're going to need more people to deal with that, which is going to be more IT support for you, right? Everything's a giant circle in this industry, and we need to remember that we build our businesses on top of our clients. So it's I think that this is a great topic to bring up so that we can handle that.
Okay. Awesome. I appreciate all your insights, and I like the back and forth on just throwing out different ideas of what can be done. So I think we've come up with some great ideas, things to think about that people are already almost doing or had thought about doing and just have not pulled that trigger yet. And a lot of times it comes down to getting paid for what you do.
Yeah.
So you definitely need to get paid for what you do, and training is no different.
Nope.
You need to get paid for training people to protect themselves.
Now, right now would be an amazing time for somebody that's listening to the show right now to ask a question.
They could do that.
I think that this would be a great time for that.
Or we could take a break and we'll come back to that portion of the show in a second.
Okay.
All right, guys and gals, DC Unconvention 2017 in Washington, D.C., September 16th and 17th. It's an IT conference. It's an unconvention, but it's an IT conference for techs and business owners reimagined. Learn from fellow techs and business owners, get business strategies that work in the real world, discover new tech. If you're an owner, operator in managed services, IT consulting, or a break-fix tech, this is the place for you. Get your hotel and tickets now. Only 100 tickets available. They are going, so definitely grab those up. Go to unconvention.io. I think it'll be a great time. Good time to learn, good time to rub elbows with fellow techs and business owners. So I think it's an awesome time to kind of get away and reinvent maybe some of your thought processes with other people. All right. So let's answer some emails and take some calls. Phone lines are open. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. Or if you're in the chat room, feel free to pop a question out there, and I will try to make sure that I'm able to see it and grab it, and we can talk about that. Let's go to our first email. All right, this is from Cormac O'Donohue. Hi, Jeff. I decided to try TechSuite, and I am liking it a lot. Once again, I was slow to the party. After taking too long to try both Fabs and TechSite Builder, which I love, in the future, any software you think is worth doing, just say Cormac from Crosshaven. Get on board because you're always last to the party. My question is, what apps have you or your guests added to TechSuite? I added Fabs, HD Tune, because I want a second view of the hard drive, CCleaner. So far, these are the things I've added. Thanks. Chris, what things have you added to TechSuite? Are you still using TechSuite?
Yes.
Okay.
So the things that I use that aren't already involved in there would be CCleaner is a big one. And that's really been it.
Okay.
I mean, everything that's built into there has been great. The guys did a great job setting all of that up, and I look forward to seeing where they take it.
Absolutely. I will second that. I pretty much, I haven't added anything, to be honest with you. I use the tools that are there, and they seem to do the things I need to do. Now, my diagnostic, I sometimes, actually, as much as I can, I will use PC Doctor. So Those are my diagnostics. Sometimes I was using TechSuite, but to me, I know people talk about Crystal Disk Info, and it's great for the quick snapshot of information. I get that. But there are a lot of times where I've had both Crystal Disk not read smart. And really what it's doing is it's reading smart.
Yeah.
Smart data can be screwed up from the Windows standpoint, from the firmware on the hard drive. It doesn't matter. Something might not be reading it right. So a lot of times you can't always, if you feel like there is a problem with that hard drive, you definitely need to go ahead and go and do a deeper dive. Now, some people will use things like C tools, which sometimes I've used that. Western Digital Diagnostic Utility. I've used that. They're all on my bench machine, and there are times where I will throw the drive into a SATA dock because it goes right into the computer, so it's going right through SATA instead of USB, which I don't really care for if I can avoid. I will use the SATA and run those programs on do a full scan of that thing, do a deep scan.
Right. That's why you're using Tech USB, right?
For
your well, because they have. So have you booted from Tech USB?
Yes. But I don't normally say things like this, but I've had false positives with that program. So it's not going to be 100%. So my point is, and that does a quicker scan. It's a quicker short-term scan. So it's not like a Crystal Disk, where Crystal Disk is just looking at smart. But PC Doctor, there are different scans you can go into, and if you go into a really, really, really deep scan, there's one in there, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but that one showed that there was, even though things were passing, smart was passing, all this other stuff was passing, there was something deep down in there that did not pass.
Right.
And that was absolutely the problem. The hard drive was starting to fail.
Yeah, just not bad enough yet that it was showing up on the...
Correct.
Yeah.
And again, here's how these scenarios go. Somebody has a machine that doesn't boot. And 9 times out of 10, here's what I get. The machine comes in the office, I go to boot it, and it boots. So at this point, I'm bewildered. It booted. But in the back of my mind, I always think, well, wait a minute. There are hardware things that could be going on that I really need to check on and make sure that those are operating correctly. Hard drive, RAM, things on the motherboard. And so PC Doctor does a lot more extensive testing and really doesn't take that much longer than using something else. So I tend to go with that if at all possible.
Fair enough.
All right. So.
All right, can I pull one out of the chat, or do you want to do another email?
Well, let me finish this email, and then we actually have a call coming in. Ooh. So give me a quick second here. Cormac O'Donohue says, P.S. Jeff, you're wrong about Linux. For this, you're the little boy who is late to the party. To that, I say, nanny, nanny, boo, boo. Thank you, Cormac. Appreciate that, and appreciate that insight. And hopefully that helps you with basically how we use TechSuite. But yeah, TechSuite, Fabs, TechSite Builder, all awesome products that make my life a whole lot easier. All right, so let's go ahead. All right. All right, let me go ahead and unmute this. All right, here we go. Hey, Kurt. Welcome to the Computer Repair Podcast.
Hey, Jeff, Chris, how you guys doing? It's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
So you guys got a really good show going on today. Except for my question has nothing to do with the topic that you're speaking about. But I'm looking for some feedback as I get closer and closer to buying PC Doctor here. My question is, what are you guys using for, like, sending out information automatically? I'm using Kabuto, and I've talked to Chris about it before. And, you know, I'm going with the offerings of monitored antivirus and the monitoring of their PC. And I want to do it on a monthly basis. I'd rather not do it on a yearly basis. What kind of program do you use in order to get that monthly payment in from the client? You know, do you have something you use to send out by email, or how do you guys do that exactly? I'm not sure. So I'm looking kind of feedback on that at the moment.
Okay. That's a great question. Chris, I'm going to go ahead and let you start, and then I'll talk about what I do.
Sure. So I use FreshBooks currently for invoicing. So I have all of my recurring invoices going out through FreshBooks. I also have Stripe integrated into FreshBooks, which allows automatic recurring payments, so the customer can tick off a little box, and it'll happen automatically. I could log directly into Stripe and set up an automatic credit card draw. I don't tend to do that because I have to manually update the invoice, and I hate doing things by hand. But one thing that you can't automate, and one thing that's really nice about Stripe, is they've now started offering ACH, which is automated check handling. So you can draw directly from a customer's checking account. So that's how I take care of the automatic payments. For those clients that I don't require automatic payments from, then they can either click on the Stripe or the PayPal payment link that goes on the invoice that's automatically sent out through FreshBooks.
Okay. And one of the things, I actually use Repair Shopper, and I just send out recurring invoices. So that stuff goes out automatically. And what I do is I do it 30 days ahead of time. So whenever they've started with their managed services,
right.
Sorry. Whenever they've started with that, what I'll do is I'll backlog that. So at the 11th month, on that date, a recurring invoice will get sent out. So they have 30 days, and then I don't have to worry about it too much, because within that time, they'll either pay it, or I might have to send them a reminder in a couple weeks during that month period. But most of the time, if they don't want to continue, that's fine. But it gives me enough time to shut down the services if I need to do that. So it's probably more of a manual approach. I'm a little concerned, this is personally just me, of taking automated payments through Stripe, which is what I had started to do years ago, and kind of said, you know what, I'm going to send out the invoice. They want to pay it, we'll continue the service. They don't want to pay it, no big deal, I'll cut the service. So that's what I'm doing for me personally.
So one thing that I'm going to cut in here, though, and mention is that the big difference between what we're talking about for the question and what you're doing is we want to look at monthly. So monthly versus semi-annual or annually is completely different, because when somebody's on a monthly payment, it is a lot easier if you can get them on automated payments, simply because they'll forget. Right. And then you'll wind up with 2 or 3 bills that'll come out, and you've called them or emailed them a couple of times, and now you're cutting them off with 3 months worth of service left unpaid.
And here's the thing. Right. This is why I don't do monthly.
Mm-hmm. This is why I don't do monthly without an automatic payment plan in place.
No, and I agree with you. It's one of those things where, here's the thing though. A lot of times, one of my other concerns was people can shut off their credit cards. They can do whatever. So it's one of those pain points that I didn't want to personally deal with, but I know a lot of businesses do, and it works perfectly fine for them.
So I'm going to tell you this then. Stripe with the ACH, the automatic check handling. First off, most people aren't going to go up and open up a new banking account to avoid you. Okay. It's just not going to happen. Right. So, I have a client that pays about $100 a month through ACH, and Stripe's fee for that is only $5. They charge like 0.08% up to a maximum of $5 per transaction on the ACHs. So it's actually really cheap to implement, but you do have to manually keep track of the invoicing because there's no way to do that through the API right now. So there's a lot of options available for you, but I agree with you. If you're going to be doing monthly, you should be doing it automatically.
Yeah, I agree with that 100% too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because to me, my whole thing is when I go to present a loan to the bank in order to get, the money for the business and stuff to purchase it, I wanted to show some way how I'm able to increase the revenue per month, not by yearly basis. Most banks look at it like, hey, what are you going to do monthly to increase this revenue? So I was trying to figure out how to work that aspect without going the whole year where I'm paying out of it out of pocket. And then once that year rolls around, then I see that money come back, and then I see, my increased revenue or whatever. Right. But that's why I thought a monthly one might be a little bit better for me. So,
okay. Yeah.
Well, great question, Chris. Or Kurt. the other Chris. Great
that's
question.
Awesome. Yeah. So I really appreciate the feedback you guys give me. Hopefully I'll see you guys here soon. So
awesome. Appreciate it. Have a great one.
All right, man. You guys have a good day.
All right. Good phone call there. All right. Yeah. So you said you had one from the chat room also?
We have 2 from the chat rooms.
Okay, shoot.
So first one that came in was from Red Agent. Do you think that training or providing some education on the protection that runs on the computer? I'm assuming, is that a good idea? Sometimes I find that they would tinker with it and fix an issue that they think the program has caused, and then should it be billable separately or should I include it in a package? So here's my answer for that. If you're providing somebody with managed antivirus, you're managing it, not the customer. You know, the antivirus and the security aspect of the computer is not something that an employee at a company or you know, somebody who really doesn't know what they're doing shouldn't be touching it. Their boss is paying you to take care of that. So my answer is, you know, any training that's going to come along on that is going to be, if you have a problem with the antivirus, contact me, because I don't want you to break something.
And I'll second that, and I agree with Chris. One of the things that I look at, though, and this is a thing I had with when I first checked out Ninja, is that which is my RMM solution. And I'm not saying this because they're a sponsor. This is just real world scenario, what I do. So Ninja decided to have it where you can't actually see the antivirus running. And at first, I'm one of those old curmudgeons that goes, well, yeah, but then people don't know it's running and they don't know what it's doing. And what I've come to find out is most people don't care.
Yeah.
Number two, if you don't have anything that's blinking in your face to tinker with, people don't tinker with it at all. So I thought about it and said, you know what? I actually like this solution better. We don't need something showing, hey, you're protected. You know, I think about now Windows Defender does have an icon in the tray, but I remember back when they first started doing all that, it was kind of like, it's really out of your face. They really don't put anything in there that just kind of pops up and is annoying you all the time.
Yeah.
So I like that approach.
Now, I do have mine showing the icon, mainly because, you know, if
you're Canadian, that's why.
Yeah, and I had too many people calling and saying, I don't know if my antivirus is running. Right?
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
I had that issue, so I have it showing. Now I have two profiles that I've set up specifically for the I use the WebRoot integration.
Okay.
I have two profiles set up. The one profile is for the residential MSP, which is, yep, you can do the temporary disable, no problem. You can do all of that stuff. But, you know, I'm going to turn it back on if it stays off for too long. Right. And then I have the business MSP, and that's all they can do. They can't change any settings. They can just do the temporary disable. For the business clients, if they try to double click on it, they're going to get a pop-up that says that your antivirus is managed by your IT provider and you have to contact your IT provider.
Okay. That I don't mind that solution either. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. I'm glad you told me about both those.
Yeah.
Now, JD Venice in the chat room, being a smart aleck, he just said RMM. Wow. Yes. I'm sorry. Remote monitoring and management, for those that don't know. I know, you know, it's you companies are rubbing off on me. Darn you. All right, what was the second question?
Second question from CC James. I am considering opening a new office outside of my existing area. It is close enough for me to travel if necessary now without the office being open in the new area. Yeah. I got lost here because do
you have any
advice before I move forward? Maybe advertising now to establish a customer base. What else? Okay. So I guess I'm going to wind up asking some rhetorical questions and then do a what if the answer is yes. Are you a member of your local chamber of commerce? Because if you are, your chamber generally, anyway, the chamber here in Barrie will allow you to send out a notice that you have a location opening, that you're having a grand opening. And a grand opening is huge because people always go to grand openings. They want to see the new business that's coming in, what kind of deals they can get, stuff like that. Use your company Facebook page, use your company Twitter. If you have Snapchat or Instagram, take some pictures in front of the store with your opening soon sign. You know, even if you just put one up and then take it down, doesn't really matter. And get people excited about the grand opening. Because what you'll find is that if you can get enough interest in the grand opening, that interest is going to continue pushing forward. Your advertising is going to be much more effective. And the chamber will help with all of that if you talk to somebody. So, call your chamber first, see what they can help you set up with, and go from there.
And you might need to be a part of, depending on how far that goes out and what that chamber covers, you might need to be part of the chamber in that particular area, right, Chris?
Yeah, and that was actually just brought up in the chat, not for that area. So call the chamber in the new area. Let them know that you're part of the Chamber of Commerce in whatever area you're in. They will likely want you to sign up as a member for the Chamber of Commerce in that area, which is a good idea anyway. Really, you should be a member of the Chamber of Commerce in whatever area you're in. And they'll help you with all of that, right? Now, our chamber website also has a directory, so that'll bring better SEO to your website. They send out email blasts to all the other business owners, which if you do any business support, that's a big thing. If you have a member-to-member discount through the chamber, then that's something that they're going to help you advertise. But again, the big thing is going to be your grand opening right now. You want to get everybody excited that there's this new business coming in, and everybody needs to come and see it, because if not, then they're square.
You just say, I'm thinking about, you said Square, I'm thinking about the payment processing system.
No, that they're not cool enough.
You mean like they're not cool?
Right.
Okay.
This is going to be the really cool place. And I hate to say this, and I'm going to hate myself.
That statement, just so you know.
I'm going to hate. I'm going to hate myself for saying this, but if you are catering at all to young people, and by young people I mean not in their 30s yet. Sure, my age. Yeah, I'm 27, 20. I don't know. Anyway, I'm somewhere in there. If you want to cater to those people as well, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. Download the Pokemon Go app from Niantic. Throw $10 into there, and have somebody put Pokemon lures on the Pokemon stop that's closest to your shop. It sounds ridiculous, but
it's good.
It is great. Pokemon Go is still really, really big. Businesses all over the world are using Pokemon Go stops and gyms to track business. And 2 days ago, I think it was 2 days ago, it was very, very recently, they launched a whole big update that got people way excited about it again. There's a lot more people playing it now than there was last month. With the rating, and then yesterday they started doing I can't even remember what it's called. There's the rating has changed, and there's these big Pokemon that you can only get if you do these raids, and it pulls people in. So if you're near a gym and you have a Pokestop near you, you can pull young people in. And when I say young people, I mean into their 30s or younger. You can start pulling those people into your grand opening with your signs out there, just by having the lures out there, because people will come out just to play the game.
That's awesome. I like that. Good advice there.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Now I'm going to have a nice drink of water so I can wash that taste out of my mouth.
All right. So we have I think we're going to end up, we have one more email, and then we actually have some more, but we'll get to those next week. So this one is from Anthony Remus. He is our computer build guy. He says, "Hi, Jeff. I just saw the Sunday show, and since you had no emails, I will bug you with something I had on the back burner. For my client PC build, what would be the best way to give them an image of the fully set up install I do for them? The default Windows image tool seems to only let me make an image to another hard drive rather than a flash drive like I would like to make. Most of my systems have a single SSD and rarely have multiple drives. The clients that have requested an image, I have sold them Asus To Do workstation at a discount since I am a reseller of their software. Ideally, I wish I could get the MS tool to work with a flash drive so I can do it on every system build. Thanks, and keep up the good work. Now to get back to building this Intel i9 7900X workstation."
Ooh, someone's playing with the i9s already.
Yeah.
Good for
Talk
you.
about making me jealous.
Yeah.
Thanks, Anthony. Thank you, Anthony, for the email. All right. So anyways, I think if wanting to make a default image, what do you use, Chris, when you do PC builds?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. I charge for everything, right? So if I'm going to set somebody up with something like that, I'm going to sell them an image backup so that it's an ongoing thing. The best case scenario, because what he's talking about is he's talking about setting everything up so that you've got all of your drivers and everything pre-installed. I'm assuming, and maybe a little bit of software. And the only way, I don't want to say the best way, but the only way that I would do that for somebody without selling them an extra service would be if you bought the proper OEM licensing. You got the toolkit that Microsoft creates so that you can create a system image partition on the hard drive and load it into there, like, you know, Dell or HP or any other OEM does. But that's it. Anything beyond that, I'm selling them something.
And I'm glad you said that, Chris, because that would have been my point too, is that it doesn't matter what you use for doing an image, use whatever is going to work, because you're going to charge a customer anyways. And I understand that you probably want to make an image for every customer, but even the big OEMs nowadays, they're charging for their media. So you're giving them one even better. Or here's probably what I would do in your scenario: actually build it into the price. I wouldn't even give them a choice. If you want to provide it for everyone, don't give them a choice. Put it right into whatever you're doing, and then charge them accordingly for that. And not only the software, but the service and time to do it, because it is an extra cost and it is an extra time factor. So I would go ahead and do that. And just, if people go, why is this more expensive? Or you can explain the benefits at that point. Yeah. But I wouldn't give them an either or. I'm going back to, I'm sorry. You know what? Don't offer them two choices, because people always pick the cheaper choice and then come back and go, why didn't you tell me?
Right.
Just offer them the best choice that you put together for your clients.
And I mean, going back to what you were saying too about, you know, the OEMs and charging for media. I mean, let's be honest about the way that they're handling that now, right? You're getting basic Windows drivers. And that's what you're getting.
You're right. You're getting the OEM discs anymore don't have anything.
No. If you get a higher end gaming system, then you might get a second disc that's the resource CD that has all of the drivers on it, but you're still installing them yourself, right? It's not coming pre-installed on the image. So, you know, I mean, really, if you want to sell them something that they can use to reinstall their operating system, again, you know, create that recovery partition. That's going to be your best bet. But sell them a USB stick and put the Windows 10 media creation tool on it. Or sorry, use the Windows 10 media creation tool to create Windows 10 media so that they can do a reinstall if they need to. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to download the drivers anyway, because you know, that's the same thing that they'll have to do with Dell or HP or any of those other companies anymore.
Well, and that's where, see, that's why I would just charge as part of the package, because once the install is done, all your drivers and everything are there, and you're making an image that person can put back onto that computer. To me, that's gold.
Absolutely. But that is a premium service. It
is a premium service. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I'm agreeing with you emphatically. All right. So we have another question we'll answer. Somebody had called in and they do not own a computer business as of yet. So here is the question. Mm-hmm. I want to know if it's worthwhile taking the CompTIA Certified Technical Trainer course. Oh, here we go. Okay. Drum roll, please.
All right. Not if you're taking it to learn how to pass the CompTIA test.
Okay.
How about that? If you don't know how to repair a computer, sure, that could get you started in the right direction so that you can learn enough to be able to find somebody to kind of apprentice under, or to start tinkering yourself, or as a basis to get into a technical college so that you can learn. But please do not make the CompTIA basic training courses your go-to for how am I going to IT, because that will not work out for you or your clients.
Well, and let me step back with this and throw in a caveat. Sure. Because I believe there are two different paths that you can take with IT. Now, there's a preference that I have, and there's a preference I'm sure that Chris has. But the two paths are, you can go and get technical training. You can go to some sort of college institute, get that technical training, pass the CompTIA, you know, all the networking and the A+ and all that kind of stuff, if you want to go into corporate IT.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they're going to need those certificates in order just to get past the first part of the the process, the hiring process. So if that's the plan that you want to go ahead and do that. Is this necessarily needed for somebody that's going into business for themselves? A lot of people won't like me for saying this, but the answer is, like Chris said, no. He said it first. So email him at Chris at. But I think you have to figure out what path you want to go down. Now, if you're young and you've got time and you want to learn that stuff, and this is a proper way to learn it for you, maybe it's fine. But I kind of like what Chris had said earlier, talking about apprenticeships. And I think a lot of that is really lost on what I will call skilled trades. And only because it's part of the program I'm going through right now. An apprenticeable program is something that really kind of needs to make a resurgence, because really you can learn a lot of this stuff on your own.
Yep.
You make a lot of mistakes along the way. And you have so many different people telling you the wrong things that you end up a lot of times going down the wrong path. And not that there are definite wrong things that people will tell you to do. People will tell you you've got to spend $1,000 a month in order to get your business up and running. Not necessarily. There are ways that you can get into this business and ways that you can build it from the bottom up and learn along the way. So, and without losing your shirt, house, wife and kids, and all that kind of stuff. So we don't want this to be a country song. And so I'm sorry. I don't know where that came from. It just popped out of my head.
Jeff's looking for a new dog, I think, at this point.
So anyways, I think that you got to decide what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you're going to pursue something like going into business for yourself, I think a lot of stuff you can learn. You can learn from listening to the different shows out there. You can learn from probably people. I would say there are people in the area that will sometimes help others out because they don't see you as competition in the enemy. They see you. And here's the gripe. A lot of people will do this business wrong, not take care of the customer properly. And because of that, the professionals, us, will complain that there's those people out there. Well, again, I kind of take it back on us because we're maybe not giving the proper training out there, or we're kind of standoffish when it comes to protecting our territory.
Well, and let's be honest, though, I'm not protective of my territory when it comes to shops that actually, do the work that they're supposed to, right? The problem that I have are the pizza techs. I'm not going to say man in a van. I don't want to deal with Marvin, but the pizza techs. That's the issue that we want to running into, where we have these Kijiji, or whatever platform they're using, $20 a repair, going around and messing things up. Not all of them, but like 99% of them do, and it winds up giving all of us a bad name, right? So that's where I draw an issue, and the only good solution for that would be regulation, and nobody in this industry wants regulation. I mean, I do, and I know that it's a really it's not a popular opinion whatsoever, and I'm probably going to get hate mail for this, but I think that we should have a regulated industry with apprenticeships, not necessarily schooling, but apprenticeships, where you have to actually go through and train under somebody before you can just walk out and make your own company and go with it. Because there's too many people out there that really do not know what they're doing, that honestly think that they do. And it's making it harder for them and for everybody around them.
Yeah, I agree with those points. Yeah, regulation is hard. It's one of those. It's a catch-22. There are caveats to, if regulation was done properly, which whenever it's done by a government agency, it's not.
Right.
So we have those things to deal with, and I think that's the problem. But I do agree with going to some sort of apprenticeable program. But again, it comes back to everybody really doesn't want to. They don't want to teach the kid down the street how to become a computer repair tech, because this kid might become better than them and take over their business one day. Well, again, it's about relationships with your
Right.
client base. They're either going to like you or not like you. If they like you, work with them. If they don't like you, don't work with them, and vice versa.
Yeah.
That's the way it works. There's plenty of people and personalities out there for each and every computer repair tech business owner, bar none. And
Well,
for those that think that there's not, you just continue to walk around your house urinating on it, and you'll, protect yours.
Yeah, we don't have a saturated market. There is not a place out there, unless you're at a small 4-digit population town or under. There is not a saturated market out there. The problem is that we have people who are not professionals trying to be professionals, and that's where the issue comes in. If you, Jeff, as an IT business owner, take on 100 apprentices throughout your career, most of them are not going to want to run a business when they find out what running a business is like, but they'd love to be a tech.
Yes.
Right. So, I would say probably maybe 10 of those people would give it a go. Right. And, we all know, what is it? 50% of businesses fail within their first year. So maybe 5 of them will go on to have a business that lasts more than a year. Maybe 1 of them will have a business that lasts more than 5. And then hopefully by the time you're ready to retire, now you've got somebody that you can sell your book of business to, and
there you go,
for your retirement. So what's wrong with that?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So
right.
I agree. I think there needs to be something, and we could go on and on, but I think we're not going to.
No.
I just want to say that JD Venice also said, I've trained 10 high school kids and college kids at my shops. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome that you're able to do that. And there are programs in each city where, and I've heard of different techs coming up through some of these programs in some of the cities they live in. And I think it's an awesome thing that people can do. So, all right. Well, I think with that, Chris, why don't you give us one parting thought and let people know where they can find you and your awesome business?
You can, let's see, you can think, no, how did that go? I had a parting thought, and then we got really animated about this last thing. So I guess my parting thought would be, write down your parting thought. Yeah.
All right. The rest is a softball. So tell people where they can find your awesome business at.
Oh, see, now I don't know where anybody can find me anymore because the lights are off. No. So this is Remote Support Tech Team. So we provide white label IT services to companies like yours. If you want to learn more about that, you can send us an email, info@rstechteam.com. Give us a call, 866-568-2813, or you can go to our website, which is www.rstechteam.com.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming out and sharing with us today.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
All right, come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnutz.com/Computer Repair Podcast Live. Join in on the conversation by calling in live and hanging out in the chat room. You can also send an email to podnutz@podnutz.com or leave a voicemail at 1-888-697-0162, and we will play that on the show. We have audio available over at podnutz.com or subscribe using your favorite podcatcher. You can be notified when the show is live by subscribing to our YouTube channel, Computer Repair Podcast. Well, thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast.